Hello, I'm Martin Mercer.
And I'm James Mastriani.
You've never heard of us.
We're two Brits who grew up in North London and have had varying success in the film and television industry.
In our ever-advancing age, we find ourselves on
the wrong side of
Hollywood. In our series of podcasts, we'll share our experiences of what it's like being a British bloke living and working,
Or not.
in the biz.
We'll discuss everything from fish and chips to things that wind us up.
So stay with us, it's all uphill from here.
This podcast may contain strong language. If you're of a sensitive nature or easily offended, we invite you to, as they say in Blighty, jog on.
You know what? I'm really pissed off because I watched the Spurs match today and I can see you glazing over already.
Oh, God!
No, but it was like I watched the Spurs match and it was Spurs versus Arsenal. I know we're going to come to this in
No, but James, I just don't get what happened to you with this.
It was all Guy's fault.
You look at you, your whole fucking emotion system has crashed like a fucking weather system.
I know,
because of bloody football.
I know.
I knew it. I knew when you watched, and I saw you on Facebook. And he was like, oh, what is it? Arsenal Spurs?
It was the North London derby.
It was fucking North London what?
Derby.
It was a North London derby. You know, now in my mind's eye, I feature people from the Victorian period. But in fact,
Riding horses.
North London derby. But in fact, it was a load of footers sat round the stadium watching these overpaid pillars kicking a leather bladder around. And the thing is, James, what happened? You were a filmmaking buddy. Your film choices are questionable, and we've got problems there which we hope to rectify.
Oi.
But we agree on Nightmare on Elm Street, we agree on Evil Dead, we agree on Evil Dead 2 and stuff like that. But this sudden diversion into being a foaming football fan.
No. I am not a rabid.
It really disturbs me.
I resent
that.
I am not a rabid football fan.
You're just fucking crying over
I
was
just frustrated.
Why? Frustrated? Why? There's
Because
much bad things to be frustrated about than overpaid ponces kicking a bloody bladder around.
No, but that's... Okay, so look, what happened was I'd gone back to England to help Guy out with Mum, and he would always say, come to the pub, Spurs are playing, and I would be like falling asleep because I was jet lagged.
Good man.
And he'd be like,
that's the
up!
attitude. Falling asleep because it's fucking boring.
But as the time went on, the more time I spent in England, they'd switched out the old style football games where people were just like kicking the ball and wasting 90 minutes of time. And suddenly we got this new influx of players and they made it exciting to watch. And I was like, yeah, it can still be boring if they're having an off day and it's a snooze fest. Yeah, it's boring as all hell. But what's interesting is the banter and the back talk and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, you mean I refer to the banter that I hear, which was illustrated by our trip to London and coming down the escalator of gentlemen
and I was wearing my Tottenham hat.
Yeah, saw your Tottenham hat and chatted.
You know.
Yeah. And I just, as from Jewish heritage, I was like, hold on a minute. What
so that's really interesting you say that.
But, sorry to cut in, but, my dad, bless him, his dad was Jewish and was a heavy...
Tottenham Hotspur
fan.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense. It was a lot of Jewish people.
Yes. So that's where it comes
from.
Whole
Yiddo
and I get it. And interestingly enough, I talked to Simon's mum about it, and I said, I don't understand. I feel a bit uncomfortable with this. And I said, what is this about? Why is it okay for all the Tottenham fans to be yelling, Yiddo, and all this kind of stuff?
Well.
And what it came from was the other teams would be calling the Tottenham fans and the Tottenham teams Yiddos because they're mainly Tottenham's in a very Jewish part of London.
So they were calling them Yids?
They were calling them Yids.
Oh, being racist.
Yes. But what happened was Tottenham was like, yeah, we're not going to get angry about that, but we're going to make that our calling for ourselves. So you got Yid Army and you got all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's outrageous. I mean, I've got a lot of Jewish friends who are Tottenham supporters over here. And they're like, Yids, come on, you Yids, and all this kind of stuff.
That's allowed, isn't it?
Yes.
It's. I mean, I'm assuming that
the
fine gentleman who ran down the stairs was Jewish.
No, he was an Arsenal supporter, so he sees the Tottenham hat and he's going, Yiddo, so he's calling me a Yid. I'm totally fine with that. I'm not.
I was right to be a bit perturbed by
yes,
that
absolutely. But the thing is, it's almost like they want to start something.
Yeah. Oh, so, yeah.
You know, it was like that time.
That tube turning we had. That was frightening.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Guy gave me his hat. So we're sitting.
Did he give you his hat when he saw before he knew?
Yeah, before he knew, he said, "Here, hold this," because he was doing his
you
notes.
You had a shirt on though.
I had my
which you quickly covered up. I
was like,
yeah.
And do you remember that Arsenal? Because Guy, I said, you didn't tell us that there was an Arsenal game on today.
Well, we went past the Arsenal station.
We came into Arsenal and we picked them up. And I remember those people were like eyeballing me.
Right.
And you were just like sinking back in your seat, and I was just like covering up the logo.
Well, I'm football free,
and I
get free pass.
I remember that kid saying, "I don't like your hoodie," and I said, "I don't like your shirt." And then we both laughed, and then Guy kind of broke the ice and everything. And it was fine, and they're just people. It wasn't.
They just happened to fill the entire carriage.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, and they looked a bit crusty, quite frankly. You know, I mean, there was that girl sat next to me, and I remember her, and she was part of their palaver. And I was just like, my eyes were like swivelling around like a dodgy puppet from some horror movie.
You were waiting to take cover if a fight broke out.
You don't know. I mean, you read all these dreadful stories on the tube, don't you? And that was a situation that brings me back to being a zitty boy on the train, you know, and just getting really red. And I could feel that heat rising, but I didn't have any zits, fortunately. But I could feel that heat rising, and I was just like, fucking hell.
I was so pissed off. Guy, you didn't remember there was an Arsenal game on today, and we're
just right into it.
Going into Arsenal territory and on the way
so
out.
it's another good reason for thinking football like.
Well, no, but going back to your original point, your original question of why do I enjoy it, it's because it's more interesting to me now than it ever was. I remember Guy when I was like 9 years old taking me to White Hart Lane. Yeah. You know, the stadium was uncovered and it was a miserably rainy day and all this kind of stuff, and I was just cold and miserable. And it was probably one of the most boring games. I mean, you think all football games are boring.
You mean American football?
No, English football.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I felt. I was like, this is not enjoyable. And it took, I was 9 years old to 50 years old before I started enjoying it.
So it's age. It's also you were pressured gently each time you went back to Britain.
Well, okay.
Your brother Guy gently sequestered you into this corner of football fandom. And when you return to America, my dear mate, film-loving, horror-loving, turns into this blue shirt-wearing, and not only
it's a white shirt.
You fucking convert your dear, lovely wife into
brilliant?
Wearing this. I'm like, what is this? And this was before the pandemic. This was my first vision of a virus. The way this stuff just... transmuted from your dear brother to you and then Monica and
invasion of the body snatchers.
And you can't do anything about it. I can't shake you from it. I can't get you out of this.
You just have to accept it and assimilate.
No.
No, all I'm saying is that I had a more appreciation of the game than I ever had, and I think it was because all these new fresh players were coming in and put some life into it that made it interesting. And compared to American football, which is basically
absolutely dreadful.
4 15-minute quarters that can drag on for 4 hours.
Well, I went with our dear friend Pete,
who
is our sound.
Was that
engineer.
baseball or was that football?
No, I went with his son Lucas, and Pete's son. He said, "Oh, this is American." You know how Pete speaks.
There's this American game on at the college. I'd like you to join me.
And so I said, "All right, okay." And I said, "Take Lucas," and it was like this. You just see these different bands circling the thing. Then you see glistening helmets in the field. Somebody runs, somebody does something, and then I'm just like, what the fuck is this? And it just went on, and it was all flashy lights and loud. I was like, get me out of here. Get me into a dark corner with a good horror film, because this is dreadful. Unfortunately, Lucas felt the same.
Right.
Yes.
No, and I get that.
That's another thing. Sorry, I'm on a rage.
You
here,
are.
Because my wife's friend, he has a son, and the son, as soon as he popped out of his mum's, it was like hat and t-shirt, the Giants, New York Giants. That's it. And this poor kid has no clue what he's wearing. But guess what? Just like you, he becomes shaped and pummeled. And finally, he's now wearing these colours and these shirts. And I'm like, this is so weird. Right?
Martin, don't beat around the bush. Tell us what you really feel.
Well, and the thing is, James, is when people look at goths, they go, oh, well, look at them. Oh my God, look what they're doing to the kids. It's like no different from what you're doing to your fucking kids with those stupid shirts and hats. And guess what, actually? There's more violence and foolish behaviour associated with that business than there is with any gothic or cool horror stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what I just find really interesting.
Well, but that's the story. Is
Right.
I went and I started
foaming footy.
No, I'm not foaming anything. And the thing was, I was expecting at least a decent game. Forget winning or losing. I was expecting an entertaining game, and it was really boring.
So you were disappointed.
I was disappointed.
Right, and so that's affected this whole Sunday sort of recording session.
No, not really.
Well, it has. It's been a bit of a cloud over.
Well,
it,
no,
I
this
think.
is the second time we've had a bit of a cloud over.
Yeah. Right now, we could talk about The Last of Us. Now, that's an.
Have you seen
right?
it yet?
No, it comes out on the 15th.
That's
of
today.
January. Right. Well, now, I can tell you what, I know fuck all about the game.
Mm-hmm.
What I do know is based on a fungus that actually exists.
Great.
And, yes. Now, I, as you know, love horror, and
Mm-hmm.
there's not much. I love clowns. So, sorry, I'm not scared of
Move the mic back so that I can get your
Right.
voice
So
back.
I'm not scared of the Terrifier clown. I love clowns. I actually think It is a very scary film.
You
The
talking about
first
the original?
No, God, no.
No, you're talking about the.
I'm talking about the movie.
Yes.
Made by I can't remember the guy's name, but
Yeah,
he
no,
a
it was
writer.
brilliant. It was really
Absolutely
good.
fantastic.
The first
one.
one. Yeah.
Second one was a disaster, in my opinion.
There was so much potential.
Totally. But you see, the thing is, you know what it was? It was what I called a Harry Potter syndrome.
Explain.
It's when you go from children and adolescents performing and you move into the adult world. And you become so attached to the kids
Right.
and what they bring to it, that
So-
mystical, that mysticism, and then suddenly you're into the adult world and you've got the cynicism.
So that whole Stranger Things thing works so well is because they're all kids.
Yeah.
If they turned into adults,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have the same.
No, but they're kids into teens, and then they the last series, which I loved. I mean, I've loved all the series. They're sort of touching toes
Yeah.
with adulthood, but they're
Yeah.
still they look the same. They
Yeah.
still have the the kid teen angst, and that's what works on that show. And the adults are peripheral,
Right.
and their characters are great. And basically, there's three main adults, isn't it? The scientist and the mum and the cop.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But the thing is with it, as soon as we went into the second movie,
Yeah. They'd all grown up, different
they're
cast.
all grown up, and they're a bunch of. Quite frankly, you just like you don't, you just don't like them.
Yeah.
That's what I felt. So with The Last of Us, I do know that the fungus is based on a real fungus, and this is what I was talking about, clowns. So I don't mind clowns, I don't like, but as a horror person, the one thing that really gives me the creeps is fungus, especially this fungus. But what it does, it invades ants. It's in the jungle somewhere. It invades ants, and it grows in them. It feeds off them, and then it bursts out their head. But before bursting out their head, this fungus turns the ant into a zombie, mate.
Yeah, no, I've heard about this.
Right?
Yeah.
And the fucking fungus zombie control mind, Davros thingy, makes this ant climb up to the top of a tree
Right.
where this fucking fungus then sprouts from its head,
Jesus.
and then the spores, of course, drift out and they invade other ants. So from what I understand it, The Last of Us is based on that. What happened if a terrifying mutation, ladies and gentlemen, was to happen and go infect humans?
Yeah, and that's what this is about.
And that's what it's about. And there's one girl who is immune to it.
Yeah, she's infected, but she's immune.
She's infected,
to-
but she's immune.
Yeah.
They have to transport this girl across America. I love that apocalyptic story
Yeah.
going across America. It's a bit like The Stand, but obviously it's sort of different type of thing. But still, that journey
Yeah.
that takes us with, which sounds great. And the makeup effects are done by Barry Gower, who is an incredible talent based out of England. He did all the Game of Thrones stuff. One of my good mates, Paul Spateri, worked for him,
Oh,
his
right.
company. Paul's a makeup artist in his own right, but these guys did the fungus effects on humans. I can't wait to see that, but also I'll be shit scared at the same time. But
You're going to let
but
Lucas watch it.
I would never let Lucas watch it. And it's funny you talk about that, because there's a whole issue there of Lucas, bless him, he's 10 3/4, something like that. And his peers, the shit that their parents allow them to watch.
Right.
And I believe that you are affected by what you see
For
visually.
sure.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be advertising.
Right.
So when people go, oh, it doesn't matter. No, I let my kids see Squid Game. It's like, really?
Yeah.
You don't think that's going to affect the child?
No.
And actually, I'm doing all the gassing. But,
You are.
But yeah, well, I've got things to say.
You got things on your mind.
I've got things to say.
No, I agree with you as far as what kids should be allowed to see and at what age they should be allowed to see it. Saying that, we were talking the other day that your dad and you would go to the video store in Potter's Bar.
Yeah, but I was 14, 15.
Right, but we were 14, 15, and that's when you and I started watching these
Video nasties.
Video nasties.
Yeah. Can you remember the first one you saw?
I think it was Dawn of the Dead. I think was the first one because I remember being terrified by zombies. Which, when you think about the concept of zombies, it's like, well, it's physically impossible, really, because
is it
once technically they would just die out after the first bite.
Why?
Because you die, you get resurrected, zombies eat your brains. You shoot the zombie through the head or decapitate the zombie to kill it.
Right.
So, but this is the disconnect I don't get. If they feed on brains, then technically you're killing the brain if they're eating your brain. So how could you come back from that?
No, but
how would you reanimate?
No, you don't come back if they're ripping your guts apart and they're feeding your brain. And by the way, the whole brains thing only comes from the third in the series.
I thought that was
Night of the. Was that Night of the Living Dead?
That was
no.
Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
With the whole bomb thing at the end.
Yeah.
So that only played in there. Before it was they dessicate you, pull your guts out, and all that. Well, you're not going to come back like that.
No.
Now, theoretically, you could say, which I think they did in the Walking Dead,
right,
where they had bits of bodies alive, because that's what would happen.
Yeah.
If this virus is in your body twitching away,
Yeah.
right? But the thing is, so the brain thing was always shooting them in the head.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't reanimate.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the eating brain thing, and okay, so that's one brain they ate, and that didn't come back, but. If you just get bitten most of the time, you got bitten on the arm.
And you get infected.
You got infected.
Yeah.
So, I don't think your case has much.
Speaking, that was my
much blood.
Silence. No, I just think it was like how it doesn't matter. Anyway.
Well, it does matter. There's legions of people out there who it matters.
Absolutely. But that's the whole thing with the zombie thing is that I always thought, well, if you're gonna either decapitate, shoot, stab in the head to kill them, then the whole thing of the twitching body, or if you dismember a zombie and you kill the head, and the hand's still crawling or the foot's still kicking or whatever.
Hold on, sorry. Can I use your
No.
pisser?
No, absolutely not. You're 20 feet away.
Oh, Christ.
I'll pause. Anyway, while you were indisposed, no, you have it. I'll give you the last piece of chocolate.
Don't worry, I got a bar in there. You can have it.
No, I don't want to have it.
No.
We'll share it.
All right.
So I was just looking through messages. Have you noticed? Do you have a Gmail account?
I do.
Is it just me, or has Gmail suddenly got inundated with a whole bunch of spam emails?
Let me have a look. No, I mean I can go onto my primary.
Yeah.
No spam.
I
go onto my social.
30 or 40.
Yeah.
So it's very bizarre to me.
Promotions.
Something's happened. But it's really bizarre. I mean, so this morning I wake up and there's always like 15 junk emails, whether it's Lowe's confirmation, winning confirmation thing, or stuff like that, and just delete, block, delete, whatever. I got rid of those, and while you were gone, I mean, in the hour or two that you'd been here, I went back in. There's another 15. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And there goes a T-Mobile notification. I don't have T-Mobile.
Right, that's annoying.
Yeah.
It must be on their list somehow.
No, it's not even T-Mobile. Let's have a look, shall we?
Oh, it's a
wakey. So here you go. I'm going to tap on who it's from. It says T-Mobile, and then it says their email address is info_1zzxc letharginbee.com. Oh, I kind of want to type fuck off.
Yeah, but don't. Now, out of the two of us, I would dare I suggest that I tend to be the more funny guy, yappy, funny bloke, and you are more of the...
but I come in with the important quips every now and then.
You do have some good quips. You do, absolutely. But nonetheless, it is more of a... I'm not saying...
I know.
But it's just, our personalities do tend to... You tend to be a little bit more serious, and that's fine. That can be that should be part of it.
Yes, I'm the straight man to your comedy relief.
Well, you could say that.
It's the Martin Mercer show with James Mastriani sprinkled in for good measure.
No, don't put yourself up like that.
I'm not.
It's basically, but I'm just saying that's, when I listen to it, that's how it...
If this was a football match, and they'd be giving out statistics, your possession would be at 78%.
It sounds like a horror film.
And we'll talk about that next time. All right. Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next week.
Yes.
Before we go, we bring you our...
Fact check! Fact check! Fact check!
Fact check segment.
Here, with the benefit of hindsight
and editing,
we can own up to our mistakes. Okay, so Martin, it's not the Northern Line that has the Arsenal football stop on it, it's the Piccadilly line.
Fear just erased any memory of the tube line there with all those bloody footy hooligans. Well, James, more importantly, your tragic lack of knowledge of horror films, the bits of bodies twitching was Return of the Living Dead, my friend.
Thanks, mate. It's always nice to have you on my side.
Till next time.
Cheers.